So today we're on UCLA campus and we're going to ask some people what they know about Korean history. Me and Simon are in a class this quarter called Korean History from 1876 to present, and we learned some new things about the Korean War, the divide between North and South Korea, and how the two countries are different today that we wanted to share with other people and see if they knew anything about it. Okay, so can you just introduce yourself, like your name, your year?
Hi, I'm James. I'm a second year.
Hideyuki Miyahara from Japan, and I'm doing a postdoc here.
I'm Emily.
I'm Sabrina. I'm a second year pre-HBS major.
I'm Richard. I'm a high school student.
My name's Thomas. I am a law student, a 1L.
Major.
I'm new. I'm in the film production.
I'm Chris, and I'm in computer science.
I'm Simon. Nice to meet you guys.
All right, so it's going to be a true-false game, 3 questions. Just hold up the answer you think is right. If you don't know, just guess. Is it true or false that the Korean War led to the division between North Korea and South Korea?
Is that true?
North Korea invaded into South Korea, right? So true.
True? Okay.
So true or false? Why'd you say false?
From what little I remember about reading about the Korean War, I just feel like I remember that the two different countries existed prior to that war.
I'm gonna say false.
So living conditions have always been better in South Korea than North Korea.
Definitely true.
So wait, South is better than
North,
right?
yeah.
After they're in two countries, would it be better to be a citizen of North Korea or South Korea?
Oh, South Korea. Also, I guess it would depend on if you're rich or not.
Say false.
Okay.
Might as well.
Any reasons?
It's always more complicated than that.
Last question. South Korea began as a capitalist country.
Did it?
Because it is a capitalist country today.
I'll say true.
I don't know that one.
Probably false.
True, but not a democratic country. Almost controlled by military, right? So at the beginning, but in 80 or 90, South Korea became a more democratic country. So if my understanding is correct.
All right, so I'll just go back over the questions and tell you the right answers.
Okay.
So the first question was the Korean War led to splitting into North and South Korea. You said true. It's actually false. So it's false because actually 5 years before the war, Korea was occupied and colonialized by Japan. And the people who freed it were the Soviets and the Americans. And when those two countries came in to save Korea from Japan, they also split it in half. So the Korean War was actually those two sides fighting to try and reunify the whole Korea, trying to go back to one Korea. But they couldn't figure it out, so they're still at stalemate today. So the second question was, living conditions have always been better in South Korea than in North Korea. Why did you say false?
I said false just because I feel like you can't assume that it's better in capitalist countries.
Do you have any extra thoughts or no?
Not really. I just know that South Korea recently became capitalist. So I don't think it was that good just 100 years ago.
Is there anything you know already about North Korea?
I mean, just the very Americanized, it's so bad there, dictatorships are horrible, all that stuff.
Uh-huh.
I feel like that's what we get.
I said true because North Korea, I believe they still have a dictator, right?
Again, this is all from high school history, but I think I recall the government in North Korea turning for the worse, and then also during more modern times, South Korea kind of becoming a stronger economy, but that not being the case originally.
Oh, but then there's the thing how you say thank you for the food because there used to be the famine. I watch a lot of K-dramas.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's exactly right.
North Korea was always better at building their infrastructure projects and making facilities and utilities and all of that. They were much better at providing them to their people at first than South Korea was. But as time went by in South Korea, they became less authoritarian. They eventually pulled ahead of North Korea when they started exporting more things to the West and the rest of the world. And it wasn't until like more recently, like 1970 or so, when South Korea like went really far ahead and North Korea was left in the dust.
I knew that. When North Korea and South Korea was built in 1950 40, North Korea were more industrialized because during the colonization by Japan, Japan industrialized the north part of the Korean peninsula. I knew that.
And then the last question is, South Korea did not begin as a capitalist country. We got one of each. Do you have any reasons or just a guess?
I actually, now that you started talking about it, I do remember I had a lecture in my history class. We had a guest lecturer from South Korea. I don't know initially how they began, but I know that there were a couple leaders that like really ramped up their production and like kind of made it more of a capitalist nation. I don't know if to say that it wasn't capitalist before or if it just wasn't doing as well, but
the era of Kim Dae-jin, president, South Korea became more, I don't know, democratic. I don't know. Before that, almost controlled by, as I said, military or something.
What is it?
So it's false.
It's false?
Yeah.
Man. Why are we wrong? What, can you correct me real quick?
Yeah, so South Korea was initially like also a dictatorship, just like North Korea, and they adopted the old colonial structure from back when Japan was like ruling over the country back in World War II. Before then, it took them a very long time for them to liberalize their economy and really become like capitalist, as what you call it. It wasn't really until the late '90s that like fully happened, and it wasn't until the '80s. The early 90s when South Korea became a democratic country. So at first they're a lot more like command economy type deal. Yeah.
All right, so what class is this?
Korea 180C. It's modern history of Korea.
All right, Korea. So with this whole class, everybody watching this, how would this information that y'all learning, in this class be beneficial in a way in the real world?
It's a good question. It's good to know like how America and how Russian like foreign policy have shaped countries that you wouldn't normally think about. Because in America, a lot of people don't think much about South Korea except for we fought a war with them, and North Korea is like the guy from Kim Jong-un. But I think this class has really taught me a lot about what American foreign policy does to other places around the world.
Any thoughts? Final questions?
No, super cool though to learn a little bit more.
I need to learn more about Korean history. Now I want to take a history class.
It was fun learning something new. Always down to learn something new, especially about a place I've never been. So I hope to visit someday.
Yeah, me too. Sounds cool.